tension between Pakistan and India is escalating. Suspension of Indus Water Treaty, which is one of the most important treaty between Pakistan and India. What are the legal implications of this decision by government of India?
That an upper riparian cannot, as a matter of principle, block any lower riparian's water. The water has to be allowed, and the free flow is an entitlement of a lower riparian.
To what extent this suspension can go? What would be the legal ramifications of this Indian decision?
The treaty is structured in a way in which both the states have voluntarily agreed not to have any unilateral action taken.
India has definitely violated this particular agreement. So what Pakistan can do, what legal options Pakistan has?
Pakistan will be seeking a relief for specific performance. Now, when you are seeking a relief for specific performance, that considerably depends if the other side is prepared to accept a jurisdiction or on whatever pretext it chooses not to walk out of the jurisdiction.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to Program Insight in V News English. Dear viewers, tension between Pakistan and India is escalating. Some of the measures announced by the Indian Ministry of External Affairs yesterday, including suspension of Indus Water Treaty, which is one of the most important treaty between Pakistan and India. This treaty is not only an agreement treaty, it is granted by World Bank. So even to scrap this particular Indus Water Treaty, there has to be another agreement there has to be negotiations between India and Pakistan. After National Security Committee meeting, which held today in Islamabad, chaired by Pakistani Prime Minister, number of important cabinet ministers, after the meeting, they described the decision by India that this treaty will be put in abeyance. This particular suspension of the treaty has been described by Pakistan as aggression of war, as in water aggression from India. And if you look into some of the very precise facts, Pakistan's entire agriculture, Pakistan's irrigation, agriculture, that all depends on not only on Indus River, Indus, Chenab and Jhelum River, and some of the tributaries that come from Indus River. So, in a nutshell, we can say it is Pakistan's lifeline, right? And Pakistani leadership today made it clear that Pakistan straight away reject this decision by government of India. India has no legal right to unilaterally suspend. What this actual treaty is, what are the legal implications? What are the legal guarantees to this? We are fortunate to have with us and very eminent lawyer and legal expert of international law, former Pakistan's law and constitution minister, Mr. Ahmer Bilal Soofi. Mr. Soofi, very warm welcome to Program Insight in V News English. So this is one of the most important treaty between India and Pakistan. And it is over last more than 65 years when this treaty came into being. And there are so many guarantees. There are so many legal protection to this particular Indus Water Treaty. And as I said, it is this treaty and Indus Water itself. Under the treaty, whatever is the right of Pakistan in terms of getting water, that water resources is Pakistan's lifeline. So I would like to seek your comments that India has opted this particular thing, but what are the legal implications of this decision by government of India?
Thank you very much, Mateen sir, for inviting me. As you have given an introduction about the treaty itself, the treaty basically is documenting the customary law relating to upper and lower riparian. And the customary law is, which has been there for hundreds of years, that an upper riparian cannot, as a matter of principle, block any lower riparian's water. The water has to be allowed, and the free flow is an entitlement of a lower riparian. So sometimes countries enter into various agreements, bilateral arrangements through which they simply regulate this customary right. So
Hmm.
that is how India and Pakistan sat together, and the World Bank facilitated that negotiation where
Hmm.
the right of the low riparian to receive water of Indus from the upper riparian was simply regulated. The treaty neither pronounces that right nor confers that right. That right is documented, as I said, for the last hundreds of years as a matter of international custom. Now, this treaty simply regulates that right. It ensures and guarantees a certain cubic amount of water to flow into Pakistan. The treaty was negotiated in good faith by both the states. Both the states chose to negotiate the treaty in a manner not to have any unilateral right into the treaty. So, unilateral right, whether there is no right provided or negotiated or mentioned in the treaty by both the sides to abridge it in any form, to curtail its operations unilaterally, to suspend it in any form and shape, or to hold it in abeyance. These rights have not been conferred by the parties. And as you know, in a bilateral agreement, only states can exercise those powers that they have contracted with each other or they have settled with each other in the terms of an agreement. Now, given that the use of this nomenclature of holding the abeyance
Hmm.
unilaterally by India under international law really means nothing in terms of the impact on the treaty, because the treaty ought to be treated as continuing in nature under international law. However, it's India's version that the treaty stands held in abeyance. Pakistan version is that the treaty is intact, there is no provision,
Exactly.
and such uh, holding of that in abeyance is against international law, and it is
True.
into violation of customary law principles as well.
Technically, putting any treaty in abeyance, that means suspension. So, would you like to make further elaboration that to what extent this suspension can go? What would be the legal ramifications of this Indian decision?
Indus Water Treaty basically a bilateral arrangement between two countries, and both the countries have uh, negotiated this bilateral treaty to regulate the customary norm of allowing water to the lower riparian state. The upper riparian traditionally can never prevent the flow of water which is meant for the lower riparian, and this traditional right, or call it customary right, or based on the state practice over hundreds of years, has been documented in various international bilateral treaties which simply regulate the water flow. They don't stop it, neither they allow it, they recognize that to be a water flow. Indus Water Treaty is one such treaty that regulates the water flow from the upper riparian India to Pakistan, which is a low riparian. And this water flow is to be regulated under the provisions of the treaty. The treaty is structured in a way in which both the states have voluntarily agreed not to have any unilateral action taken. So you will find no provision for unilateral suspension or one-sided abrogation or one-sided termination of a treaty. Both the states voluntarily said they don't want this kind of a provision. Now, when India exercised this right of holding in abeyance through a press release, it is a shocking development simply because it is extraneous to the treaty provisions agreed by India with Pakistan back in 60s. So whatever water flow has to be regulated under the legal framework, it is something that has been settled by India and Pakistan together on the negotiation table, and that is reflected in the text and the letter of the treaty, which simply contains no provision for one sided termination, one sided holding in abeyance. In that sense, this argument that treaty there is a violation of its war treaty, so in that sense, one can very clearly state that this alleged termination is a violation of Indus Water Treaty clearly. And not only it is a violation of a treaty, it is all a violation of customary law relating to upper and lower riparian. It is also in violation of the state practice amongst the states within the subcontinent, where several rivers flow and various states act as upper riparian and lower riparian. So this needs to be recognized that such a unilateral and irresponsible statement is against international law that is documented in the treaty, that is in the state practice, and that is general principles of international law.
Ahmer Bilal Soofi Saab, so wherever there are treaties, treaties are respected word over. And there are hundreds of treaties signed over the last many decades, and I would like to say even centuries. So would this Indus Water Treaty share your some legal insight that under certain laws, there are two major laws. One is Vienna Convention and one is Geneva Convention. So please confirm that is Indus Water Treaty is protected under Vienna Convention?
It also needs to be noted that under Vienna Convention on Interpretation of Treaties, there is no provision for termination of a treaty because that cuts across the very essence of the idea of good faith to implement treaties. Once two states enter into a treaty, just like a contract, it is intended to be upheld. It is not intended to be violated by either side. So there is a good faith implicit in every treaty that is negotiated or executed by both the sides. So the Vienna Convention does not empower any state to terminate a treaty in a one-sided fashion. There are some grounds given in the Vienna Convention, but none of those grounds apply to the Indian reasoning. So therefore, this is a violation of the Vienna Convention as well.
So India has definitely violated this particular agreement. So what Pakistan can do? What legal options Pakistan has?
Now, given the violation, what can Pakistan do? Can Pakistan invoke the arbitration process or the dispute resolution process under the treaty? Well, that needs to be looked into, and I think a little more research needs to go into to come to a very clear conclusion for the simple reason that normally in a private international law framework, the arbitration clause survives the termination of a treaty. Now, whether under public international law, can this arbitration provision or dispute resolution provision survive an alleged holding in abeyance action of another state is a question that needs to be investigated and researched further. Why it needs to be researched in this case is also because Pakistan will be seeking a relief for specific performance. Now, when you are seeking a relief for specific performance, that considerably depends if the other side is prepared to accept a jurisdiction or for on whatever pretext it chooses not to walk out of the jurisdiction. But as I said, I will hold back my final opinion on this, and it remains subject to further investigation and research.
Ahmer Bilal Soofi Saab, please share with us. The United Nations is the guarantor of international peace. Many treaties that has been signed under the supervision of United Nations. So share with us, can Pakistan take up this matter before United Nations Security Council? If so, what United Nations Security Council can do?
However, Pakistan can certainly take this matter to other forums, more political forums, such as the UN Security Council, such as the UN Secretary General Office, which has a separate mandate from the Security Council, and to the Counterterrorism Committee established under UN Resolution 1373. The Secretary General Office is fully mandated, and the language used in the UN Charter is whenever any situation likely to endanger international peace and security occurs, the Secretary General can bring the matter to the notice of the Security Council. Now, given these two press releases, if one were to put them side by side, one from the Indian side yesterday, today, one from Pakistani side today, I have no doubt in my mind that anyone who reads them will come to an informed conclusion that circumstances have presented themselves there that are likely to endanger international peace and security in the subcontinent. And therefore, it is now mandatory on the UN Security Council to immediately take cognizance of the matter and to direct remedial steps to both the sides, and particularly the Indian side.
Thank you so much, Ahmer Bilal Soofi Saab. Despite your very busy schedule, you participated in our program Inside in V News English and shared your strategic analysis on one of the most hot issue and decision taken by government of India of suspending Indus Water Treaty and what could be its legal implications on Pakistan. Dear viewers, till our next program, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz.